Hello, beautiful ones. Welcome to Grace Healing House, the sacred space of growth, transformation, self-discovery, and healing under absolute love, grace, gratitude, and joy. Thank you for tuning in and blessing this space with your beautiful self. My name is Tiffany Renee, a divine conduit, a divine channel for the highest good. And today we are going to discuss what makes a journey a spiritual journey. What does it mean to be spiritual? This is what's coming forth, right, to be discussed. And so I'm laughing because in our day-to-day lives, we're always given these choices that a lot of us we're just not aware of, right? And whether you belong to a religious group and community or a community that considers themselves to be spiritual and non-religious, there are ideas, there are beliefs, there's a consensus within that group, within that collective about the way things are and should be, and we oftentimes plug into those ideas and beliefs ourselves without even realizing it. It's on a very subconscious level. It's an agreement that we make, right? With others, with our tribes, with our collectives, with our village, and so on. And with this, we as human beings, we like to understand things. I know I do. We like to a lot of the times we like to put things in boxes. As soon as we give it a name or give it a shape, or we're assigning it something, where there's a certain level of restriction that comes with that action. But at the same time, it allows us, right, to be able to conceive whatever is being brought to us in a way that makes us feel safe at that time, right? And I say at that time because often there are plenty of opportunities that we're presented with for our understanding to evolve and to grow, right? And so that's no different with these ideas and beliefs, these programs around what it means to be spiritual, what it means to be on the spiritual path. And I really want to get into this. For some to be on the spiritual path looks like, wearing all white and, maybe chanting throughout the day. Maybe it means going to India and retrieving parts of your soul you feel like you've lost. Maybe it means, you don't listen to certain types of music and you only listen to gospel. Being on a spiritual path, maybe it means renouncing for some people everything that they feel has to do with the material world. There's so many ways in which, this manifests within our collective, according to our consciousness, according to our own soul's journey. And the truth of it is, or at least from what I can understand at this point in my journey, is that all of it's true and not true at the same time. If you're born into this world, if you're existing, you're already on a spiritual path. And that spiritual path looks very different for each and every one of us. You can be quote unquote spiritual, which to me is just saying you're of spirit. Everything is spirit. So there's nothing that's existing, nothing that we witness that is outside of the space of spirituality, right? Because everything is of spirit. Our concept of matter is growing and evolving. Because soon science, which we've made law, maybe in a few decades or who knows? We'll start to understand that the concept of matter, of material, of flesh, of bone, all these things are simply constructs. I've been shown again and again and again, it's all light. It's all, some people may call it a projection. We're all appearing as a result of our consciousness. And that's what's being broadcasted or projected, right, for ourselves and others to witness. And let's get back to this whole spirituality thing. So yeah, we get involved in these different communities, and again, we just have all of these concepts about what it means to be spiritual. You know, you got to eat a certain way, you got to speak a certain way, you can't cuss, you can't do this, and all of that. I don't believe it's necessary. But sometimes it is necessary for us to have that experience for our own soul's growth and evolution. The only problem is when we make that the truth, right? When we make that the thing that is true, period. Well, if you're spiritual, you don't need to be smoking no weed. If you're spiritual, BS. I call BS. Because, again, if you're born into this world, you're already on a spiritual path, and we all go about that in a very different way. That businessman or woman, that girl that's out in the club shaking her behind, is no less spiritual than the person that decides they want to spend every day in the church. And none of us get to make that judgment about someone else's walk and path, because we don't have the insight into how Spirit is working through and in and around that person. And we limit ourselves in the way that we can be blessed by witnessing that person and their own expression, right? The way their life is going, the way they're choosing to express divine. We're missing out because we're choosing to stay stuck in judgment. We're choosing to believe the things that have been told to us and taught to us, because a lot of us aren't choosing to go within us to really see what the truth of all of this is. Because when we do, we realize that judgment that we hold, that idea that we have about what's spiritual and what's not, what's good and what's right and what's not, that begins to shift very rapidly when you realize that we're all playing different roles for one another. And the more we allow ourselves to let go of those judgments of what we perceive as, again, being spiritual and what's not, then we ourselves, right? We open more to that love that is us. And we really get to have a different experience of life and different exchange. We get to really, because I believe this is all about love, and it's different love in all of its different shades and forms. And so we get to open up more to that, be witness to more of that, be aware of more of the love that is always present, again, within and around us. And our lives change for the better. Our minds, our inner state of being, of thinking, become a lot more balanced. We begin to feel more peace, and there's less friction and tension within us because we begin to choose love as we allow others to be exactly who they are, exactly where they are at that time, and there's no judgment. Because, when we get onto a quote unquote spiritual path, we don't even realize we're doing it. There's so much opportunity for us to really have this sense of hierarchy that, again, I don't think many of us are very aware of. This sense of self-importance that makes me better than another, when in actuality, that's just not the case. It's not the case. And one of the things that had been revealed to me a long time ago, because this is when I really started to become a lot more aware of my own kind of patterns and things. And, if I'm very honest, I was looking at some of the things that I had experienced and some of the things I had done that I was not proud of, the decisions that I made in relation to others that I was not proud of. And I was so in that space of shame and guilt, and how could I be that person, and how could I choose this, and so emotional. And something came over me, and I will never forget this. The words that came to me were, people only choose according to their level of consciousness. You aren't what you've done. What you've done in those experiences, those choices, are simply a matter of your consciousness. And your again, we go back to this word awareness around the choices that you felt as though you had. You did the best with what you had, with where you were. And so you can either choose to wallow in that, or now you can choose to allow this grace and this compassion in, this self-forgiveness in, for you and for others. This shifted something in me. This moment, and I'm really ingesting that now because it applies to so much in life. I'm making these choices according to my level of consciousness and awareness. When I allow in to my awareness, my perception of me, of the world, of life, this concept that, hey, all of it is divine, that I am divine, I am love. I am loving awareness. That loving awareness comes from Ram Dass. I loved it when I heard it, listening to one of his albums. But yeah, it applies for right now. I am loving awareness. And when I know I am that, and when I allow that to settle into my bones, and I repeat that in my head, that's my constant replay. Well, then my actions start to align with that, because that becomes my belief. That becomes my perception through which I view my world. And my world is a world that includes others. Other situations, other people, other places, other beings. And I let go again of the concept of my journey being more spiritual or better or worse than anyone else's. I release through this awareness, through this acceptance of love, that There's nothing that me or anyone else has to do to be spiritual or be worthy. It just is. Because I also start to realize, and this is what I'm speaking from my own experience, my own soul, is however much I can love myself, however much I can accept grace for myself and be compassionate with me, that's as much as I can be and do that with others. The more I can release that judgment, because all of those others are just helping me to see where I'm at within my own journey, where I'm at within my own self, my own consciousness. The more I can allow that judgment of others, this is, I think, on a very subconscious level, we don't know what we're speaking when we speak of whether it is our siblings, our family, our parents, as being, that you don't choose to be enlightened, or they don't choose to be this. Yeah, they are. They are. They're just doing it in a way that looks different than what you're doing. And if I hold them in a space, just like, and I'm going to go back to this is, I'm going to use this example. So I believe, like many people in this country and other countries, have an experience in some way, shape, or form of addiction, right? My personal experiences with that were with my mother and plenty other family members, right? And I remember, me and my mother's relationship, it is a very beautiful relationship, and it is a key relationship that has really brought into my awareness this concept of unconditional love in a very big way. And I remember, and I can say this, I can share this because I'm so proud of my mother. I'm so proud of her growth and her choices, right? And at one time, I could only see her, no matter what, as the addict, right? As someone that couldn't be trusted. There's a lot of other things in that relationship, but that was how I was perceiving her. And I had conversations with my sister, and that was that same thing. And I remember speaking with my mother one day, and she was so upset about an argument she had with my sister, and about basically how my sister still saw her as the addict, and her husband, and how he still saw her as the addict. And I heard how much it hurt her. And I saw within myself, I knew within myself that I was doing the same thing. Right? How could I expect this person in front of me to heal if I was still holding her in that place, in that space of being an addict? That wasn't right or okay. How dare I? My hurt wanted me to hold on to that, right? And wanted me to blame her and all these other things. But a bigger part of me, and I'm starting to get emotional, knew that that wasn't what I was here to do, and that wasn't what was being presented to me. So there was another thing that came up, right? So that was a conversation that opened up the door for me. And then my mother, I think not long after that, she'd asked for some money, to borrow some money to fix something. It was her car. And usually when people ask me for money, I'm going to tell you, it's usually not in the account, okay? But that's changing. gratitude. But that day I had it. I legit had it, and it wasn't going to break me, right? And so she's upset and she's asking me about borrowing this money. And I remember being like, the first instinct was, what's she using it for? I don't try, all the things. Because again, just like everybody else, not everybody else, but just like, my sister, my stepfather, I was holding her in that same place of being an addict. That wasn't who she was or is. That was a reaction to the pain that she did not know how to process and didn't see a way out of. See, this is what love gives us, perspective. And so in that moment, I just said, okay, Spirit, what do I do? Do I give it? And I did. I gave it, and I said to myself, it's not my business what she does with this money. I'm going to choose to trust her, and I'm going to choose to see her differently. And I keep on getting opportunities to trust and see her differently. And I'm telling you, our relationship has changed, and I witness she's changing. She's been so many years sober now. And I'm not accrediting that or attributing that to me, right? Only me. Just like divine is working within and around me, divine is working within and around her, and I get to witness her in her divinity and not as someone I perceive as being broken or being less than, because that's not what love calls for me to do. That's what I'm sharing with you here. It's bigger than just, how we can perceive this whole title, right, of what it means to be spiritual. Essentially, what we're all doing is remembering love, and we're being presented moment after moment with what that looks like and what it means and how to trust it and how to choose it. And I'm so grateful for all of everything that presents itself, all the opportunities that present themselves in my life to choose love. And that includes for me. A lot of the times, that's first and foremost. We have it the other way around. Because again, I can only meet someone and love someone as much as I'm willing to love and meet myself, as much as I'm willing to trust myself. Because we have all these concepts, and I'm going to bring in authenticity and honesty. As much as I'm able to be authentic and honest with myself, that's as much as I'm going to be able to meet somebody else. And we have this idea that it starts outside of us. That's why we have these perceptions of what everything has to look like for it to be real, for it to be this or that. But really, all of this starts within us. And I've been blessed, again, to have many opportunities, including now. I find myself being more and more silent, craving more and more of that space to go within myself, because it's so necessary. And that's my grounding. I'm already grounded and connected to Mother Earth. She's a part of me, I'm a part of her. But for me, grounding is coming back home to myself, to my center, to that stillness. That's what it is for me right now. And for you, maybe it's something different. But with all of this being said, I encourage you to go within. Maybe these words have provoked something in you, inspired something within yourself. for you to investigate how you're judging the world outside of you and how that world outside of you and the people and all the things you're experiencing, how it's speaking to what's happening within you that's ready to be witnessed. Some of it amplified, not all of it is something maybe you want to alchemize, but maybe some of it is. How can you let love into these spaces and places within you, these judgments that are just showing you the hurts that still exist within you, the fears that still exist within you? I'm curious to hear, what comes up within you. Feel free to leave your comments below, right? Feel free to, let's make this into a conversation. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know, what's been your experience. What's been your experience? And again, I thank you for tuning in and sharing your beautiful energy in this space. Thank you for being here on this planet. Thank you for all that you are and all that you do. This podcast is always followed up with an alignment and alchemy offering. And so if you're interested in that, I'll post that on my YouTube page every Monday following this podcast. And if you'd like to know more about what I offer, you can always go to gracehealinghouse.com, where you'll find all the goodies, okay? And that is it for today. I send you so much love, so much appreciation and respect for your divine journey. Wherever you are within that journey, know that you're exactly where you need to be. Again, I thank you. Ashe.